Have you ever stayed quiet in a meeting, held back a brilliant idea, or buried a dream just because you worried how it might look to others? You're not alone. In fact, according to a 2023 workplace psychology study, 72% of professionals admit they've silenced their true selves at work out of fear of being too much or not enough. But here's the twist: those very quirks we suppress often hold the keys to our success. The world doesn't need more polished personas, it craves authenticity, boldness, and people willing to lead with what makes them different. As poet 𝐒𝐿∗ once said, "It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are." This kind of bravery isn't reckless, it's what we call wild courage. Psychologist Dr. Brené Brown describes it as the ability to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Wild courage means refusing to shrink to fit the mold. It means speaking up when you'd rather stay quiet, sharing your vision when it's still messy, and embracing your weirdness as your edge. Imagine if Lady Gaga had worried about being too much, or if Elon Musk decided building rockets was too weird. Greatness isn't born from conformity. It's carved out by those bold enough to be real. Think about it like this: if your personality was a volume knob, most people are stuck at a 4 to stay acceptable. But what if you turned that dial to a 10, not for attention, but for alignment? The truth is, when you show up authentically, you stop attracting people who want the mask, and start connecting with those who resonate with your mission. Your flaws might actually be your superpowers in disguise. The way you speak, think, lead, or create could be exactly what someone else has been waiting for. So ask yourself, are you muting your magic just to be more manageable? Here's the truth: people who rise in their careers, make impact, and live fully aren't usually the most talented, they're the most visible and courageous. They turn fear into fuel and self-doubt into strategy. And the good news? You don't need anyone's permission to begin. With a little wild courage, you can transform perceived flaws into features. You'll begin attracting aligned relationships, creating unshakable self-trust, and unlocking doors that stayed shut to your polite version. It all starts with learning how to embrace all of you, not just the edited parts. So, let's flip the narrative. What if being too much is exactly what makes you unforgettable? Today, take one step, speak your truth, own your uniqueness, lean into the thing you're tempted to hide. Because that's where your power lies. Be yourself, everyone else is already taken, Oscar Wilde famously quipped. If that's not a strategic advantage, what is? About the author. Jenny Wood is a seasoned Google executive, leadership strategist, and the creator of the Own Your Career Initiative, a program designed to empower professionals to take charge of their development and achieve meaningful success. Her insights on career growth and leadership have been featured in top publications including Harvard Business Review, Entrepreneur Incorporated, and Forbes. Key Takeaway 1. Why your weirdness is your greatest career advantage: stand out without apology. Imagine walking into a corporate meeting wearing bright red sneakers. Sounds like a mistake? Think again. Research calls this the red sneakers effect. We tend to view people who confidently break unspoken rules as more competent and high status. Now ask yourself, what red sneakers have you been hiding in your professional life? In a world obsessed with fitting in, it turns out that being different is your greatest edge. Yet many of us spend years muting our quirks, creativity, or passions to appear normal. The cost? Missed opportunities and untapped potential. As Jenny Wood, a Google executive and leadership coach, points out, the real danger isn't failing, but being forgotten. Psychology backs this up. When people suppress their true selves at work, they suffer from increased burnout and decreased engagement. Even history supports this. After World War II, the U.S. Air Force realized that no pilot fit the average body measurements used in cockpit design. Once they embraced individual differences and made the seats adjustable, accidents dropped dramatically. The message? There is no power in average, only in authenticity. Think of weirdness as a signature spice in your career recipe. Just like 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐈𝐙𝐄 tea's smoky flavor isn't for everyone, but deeply memorable to those who love it, your personality, skills, and perspective are not meant to please everyone. That's the point. Instead of suppressing what makes you unique, own it on purpose. Speak up early in meetings. Sit front row. Personalize your email signature. These aren't attention-seeking moves, they're strategy. Visibility isn't vanity, it's how opportunity finds you in crowded environments. So, ask yourself, are you editing your personality to meet outdated expectations? Are you hiding the very things that could make you unforgettable? Conformity might feel safer in the short term, but over time, it dulls your light and drains your energy. Leaders aren't looking for echo chambers, they're looking for spark. And that spark might just be the weird part of you you've been taught to hide. So instead of asking, "How can I fit in?" start asking, "What can I bring that no one else does?" Embrace your authenticity like it's a competitive advantage, because it is. Say yes to early career opportunities, then become intentional as you grow. Practice a bold but brief self-intro that reflects your strengths. And when in doubt, remember, what feels like a risk to you may be a breath of fresh air to someone else. So go ahead, stand out. Key takeaway 2. Why being selfish might be the smartest career move you ever make. We've all been there, burned out, overcommitted, and underappreciated. Maybe you planned the office party, stayed late to fix someone else's project, or took meticulous meeting notes no one read, yet got passed over for that promotion. Sound familiar? Here's the truth, selflessness doesn't guarantee success. In fact, always putting others first can be a fast track to invisibility. It's time we reframe the narrative. Being selfish isn't shameful, it's strategic. In today's hyper-competitive workplace, your survival may depend on your ability to prioritize your needs unapologetically. As leadership expert Jenny Wood argues, healthy selfishness is essential for both professional growth and personal well-being. For centuries, human cooperation kept small tribes alive. But today's work culture demands more than goodwill, it requires visibility. A Harvard Business Review article supports this idea, noting that performance alone won't advance your career if no one sees it. Consider this, the same evolutionary instincts that once helped us survive are now sabotaging our success. Are you helping others win at the cost of your own advancement? Think of your calendar like a budget. Every yes is a financial withdrawal from your limited time. Much of what clogs our schedules is nap work, not actually promotable, tasks like organizing lunch, taking minutes, or managing internal logistics. These might earn quick gratitude, but they don't get you promoted. Instead, say yes only to high-impact, high-visibility opportunities that put your talents in front of decision-makers. Like Claire Torrey, the singer who recorded for Pink Floyd and later fought for her fair share, you must evaluate whether your agreements reflect your value, especially as circumstances evolve. So, ask yourself, are you championing your own agenda as fiercely as you support everyone else's? Are you clinging to past commitments that no longer serve your future? Embracing strategic selfishness isn't about being ruthless, it's about ensuring your voice is heard and your work is recognized. It's about asking, what I need now, WINN? And setting boundaries to protect it. If you're constantly giving and never receiving, how long before your energy, your ambition, or your career stagnates? It's time to rewrite the rules. Speak up. Protect your time. Prioritize the projects that highlight your brilliance. Because here's the truth, no one else is going to advocate for you the way you can. Look for solutions that create wins for everyone, but don't be afraid to look out for yourself in the process. Key takeaway 3. Why shame is secretly sabotaging your career, and how to stop it. Imagine this, you ace your performance review, receive 3 compliments, and 1 minor critique. Which part do you replay in your head all night? If you're like most professionals, it's the critique. That obsessive loop isn't random, it's negativity bias, and it's one reason shame is the most silent career killer. While society praises humility, the corporate world rewards visibility. It's not arrogance to recognize your strengths, it's essential for survival. So, what if the secret to success isn't playing small, but becoming shameless enough to own your impact? Psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes first defined imposter syndrome in 1978, but decades later, it still haunts boardrooms, break rooms, and Zoom calls alike. Even the most accomplished individuals question their worth. Consider the new hire who never unpacks their desk, silently waiting to be exposed as a fraud. Shame whispers, "You don't belong." But here's the truth from researchers and executive coaches alike, it's not your competence that needs boosting, it's your confidence. Legendary author Brené Brown once said, "Shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we are capable of change." Think of your mind like a spotlight. If you constantly shine it on your flaws, your brilliance fades into darkness. Instead, build a power portfolio, identify your top 3 strengths and commit 75% of your time to them. Just like a successful brand markets its most valuable products, you need to market your highest value skills. And it doesn't require ego, just structure. A short weekly email to your manager outlining your wins and priorities creates professional visibility without awkwardness. Use the ROI framework, highlight your role, your objective, and your measurable impact. It's not bragging, it's broadcasting value. So why do so many of us stay quiet? Is it humility? Or fear masquerading as politeness? What if we flipped the script? Start the hard conversations within the first 90 seconds. Ask for that raise. Give that feedback. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes. Speak clearly, ditch the euphemisms that dilute your message. And when things go wrong, own it. The strongest professionals are those who say, "Here's what happened, here's what I learned, and here's how I'm moving forward." That's not weakness, it's leadership. Shame may whisper that you're not enough, but the data, your achievements, and your integrity say otherwise. It's time to replace self-doubt with shameless self-advocacy. Be bold. Be seen. Be the kind of leader who celebrates wins and owns stumbles with equal grace. Key takeaway 4. Curiosity is your career superpower. Why the nosy ones win. Ever notice how children ask hundreds of questions a day, but adults often freeze up in meetings, too afraid to raise a hand? We're conditioned to believe that being nosy is rude. But what if that urge to ask questions is actually your greatest career asset? In today's fast-paced workplaces, the courage to dig deeper, ask why, and explore how things work isn't annoying, it's game-changing. The truth is, curiosity creates opportunity, and those who ask, advance. Studies from UC Davis confirm that curiosity quite literally rewires the brain. When we're curious, we're not just more engaged, we absorb information faster, retain it longer, and make better decisions. As leadership expert Warren Berger says, the questions are more important than the answers. In fact, some of the most innovative companies, like Google and IDEO, actively reward inquiry. Curiosity isn't childish, it's a sign of leadership. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward often comes down to a single, brave question. Think of curiosity like a flashlight in a dark room. It doesn't just illuminate the answer you seek, it casts light on everything else around it. When networking, for example, many people feel awkward because they're too focused on how they're being perceived. But when you redirect focus by asking thoughtful questions, you not only ease anxiety, you build trust. It's like shifting from a spotlight to a lantern. You warm the space around you, making others feel seen. And even in emails, replacing "I" with "you" makes your communication land with more clarity and care. But what should you ask? What if you look foolish? Or offend someone? Ironically, it's often the simplest questions, the ones everyone else is afraid to ask, that shift the dynamic. In a meeting full of jargon, asking what an acronym means doesn't show ignorance, it shows initiative. Curiosity also fuels professional growth. Want to become a better presenter? Ask how your admired colleague prepares. Curious about conflict resolution? Observe how leaders handle tough conversations. Why reinvent the wheel when you can study its spin? The next time you hesitate to ask, remember, questions unlock doors that silence keeps shut. Embrace your curiosity not as a flaw, but as a force. Watch what happens when you lean in and listen with intention. So here's your challenge: be nosy on purpose. Ask, learn, connect, and lead. Key takeaway 5. The truth about influence: why smart professionals embrace strategic manipulation. Have you ever watched someone effortlessly navigate workplace politics, close key deals, or get promoted, while you wonder, what's their secret? The answer might be the one word no one likes to say out loud: manipulation. Not the shady kind, the courageous, intentional kind that builds mutual benefit. In today's hyper-connected professional world, influence is currency, and those who understand how to invest it strategically rise faster, build deeper relationships, and open more doors. Most people squirm at the word manipulation because it conjures images of deceit. But as leadership strategist Mo Banal discovered, the most successful professionals aren't just lucky, they're generous influencers who give more help more often. Psychology backs this up. Influence isn't just about what you know, but who feels connected to you. And as the saying goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Genuine connection is the foundation of lasting professional success. Think of relationships like houseplants, they don't survive on good intentions alone. Without regular watering, check-ins, support, shared wins, they wither. This applies to mentors, managers, and peers. You need a 4-directional influence strategy: reach up, your skip-level manager; across, your boss's peers; down, junior colleagues; and outward, industry contacts. It's like building a spiderweb. Your strength lies in the connections, not just the center. And mapping your org's informal power networks? That's your internal GPS for influence. Ask yourself, who can get things done without a fancy title? Who is quiet power? Who champions others behind the scenes? These are the people who make things move, And your job is to be seen, remembered, and respected by them. Influence doesn't mean solving everyone's problems. It means giving just enough help to create impact, without burning out. And let's not forget energy. Do you radiate warmth, or drain the room? Because positive energy, even when it feels effortful, builds trust faster than facts alone. So here's the challenge: stop resisting the idea of influence, and reclaim manipulation as a leadership tool. Start scheduling those check-ins. Ask better questions. Offer meaningful help. Show up with intention. Because in a world where connections create careers, you can't afford to let relationships run on autopilot. Key takeaway 6. Why being bossy is a superpower, redefining leadership in the workplace. Remember being told as a kid, "Don't be so bossy"? That childhood jab still echoes in boardrooms today, silencing voices, especially women's, from stepping into authority. But what if bossy was never the problem? In reality, being labeled bossy often means you've started to lead. The truth is, many high performers hit a wall when they transition into leadership, not because they lack skills, but because they haven't learned how to wield influence differently. As leadership expert Marshall Goldsmith famously said, "What got you here won't get you there." Being a standout contributor often means solving problems yourself. But leadership? It demands a shift, from doing to enabling. True leaders empower others to succeed, not just execute tasks. And according to Harvard Business Review, the most effective managers spend over 50% of their time communicating, not completing deliverables. That shift is uncomfortable, but essential. Think of a leader not as the captain barking orders, but as the orchestra conductor, guiding without playing a single instrument. Consider the new manager who spends hours crafting a perfect team plan, only to face resistance. Why? Because leadership isn't about creating answers in isolation. It's about throwing the markers on the table and saying, "Let's solve this together." Collaborative leadership transforms resistance into ownership. And like a film set rat, great leaders first observe the rhythm of the team before trying to direct it. Are you accidentally leading like a lone wolf? Do you mistake urgency for importance? When feedback sounds like ridicule, or praise is missing, trust erodes. Toxic leadership rarely comes from malice, it stems from a lack of self-awareness. Ask yourself, do I create clarity or confusion? Am I empowering or micromanaging? Leadership isn't about perfection, it's about removing friction, building vision, and celebrating progress. So here's your invitation: reclaim the word bossy and evolve it into bold leadership. Listen more than you speak. Step back so others can step up. Be curious before being critical. Because great leaders don't shine alone, they build teams that shine brighter together. And remember, you weren't too much. You were just born to lead. In summary, in a world that often rewards conformity and politeness, Wild Courage by Jenny Wood invites us to do something far bolder: stand fully in our truth. This isn't just a call to be brave, it's a roadmap for reclaiming the parts of ourselves we've been taught to hide. With compassionate clarity, Wood argues that the quirks, curiosities, and convictions that make us weird are, in fact, our greatest professional and personal assets. Drawing from her own journey as a Google executive, leadership coach, and creator of the Own Your Career program, Wood dismantles the myths around modesty, selfishness, and shame. She encourages readers to unapologetically own their ambition and to stop shrinking themselves to fit into outdated molds of professionalism. Because when we edit ourselves to please others, we trade authenticity for invisibility, and that's a cost too high. One of the book's most powerful messages is the value of healthy selfishness. Far from being a negative trait, it's a necessary act of self-respect. Wood empowers readers to say no to the distractions that dilute their purpose and yes to the opportunities that elevate their growth. Through the WIN framework, What I Need Now, she shows us how to realign commitments with current values and walk away from paths that no longer serve us. Wood also tackles shame and imposter syndrome with radical empathy. With striking examples and neuroscience-backed insights, she explains how negativity bias keeps us focused on our flaws, even in the face of overwhelming success. Her solution? Build a power portfolio. Focus on your strengths. Speak up for yourself. Celebrate your wins as openly as you own your mistakes. In her words, shamelessness is a professional superpower. Curiosity, too, becomes a cornerstone of courage. Wood reframes being nosy as one of the most potent leadership tools available. The best leaders, she argues, are insatiably curious, they ask the questions others are afraid to, learn from those around them, and remain students of every situation. Curiosity is connection. Curiosity is confidence. It's not knowing all the answers that sets you apart, but your willingness to keep asking better questions. Perhaps the most surprising chapter is her defense of strategic influence, what some might call manipulation. But Woodruff claims the term, showing that building intentional relationships isn't dishonest, it's wise. With clear tactics like mapping influence networks and practicing generosity at scale, she equips readers with tools to lead with integrity while expanding their reach. Finally, Wood redefines what it means to be bossy. Leadership, she says, isn't about control, it's about creating space for others to shine. The best leaders are those who step back while lifting others forward. They communicate with clarity, lead with empathy, and remove roadblocks so their teams can thrive. It's a powerful reminder that the courage to lead begins with the courage to listen. Wild Courage is more than a book, it's a gentle but firm nudge toward becoming the most fearless version of yourself. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel so we can keep spreading this empowering truth to others navigating their own wild path. And if no one told you lately, remember this: you are loved, you are worthy, and you are spectacularly capable of extraordinary things.